Mass layoffs at the CDC. Mangioni's going to be taken out back of the shed to be put down by Pam Bondi. Uh, Trump tariffs are going wild. He is dropping the bomb on everyone. And Ubisoft is now being acquired in part by China. CCP and G are going to give you some DLC. Thank you guys for watching. This is Ted with Forward the Line. That's funny. I just made that up. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. Give us a like, give us a follow. Please rumble rant down below if you like what I have to say or you don't. Either way, thank you guys so much. That sucks because I just yeah, okay. We're just gonna move on. Check us out over on X at Forward the Line and our website, forwardtheline.co, where we've got some shirts and some goodies. Much more to come. Got this dope hat. This awesome shirt. You can't really see it. It's Take the Journey. It's very pretty landscape. It is one of my favorite shirts. Just gonna throw my phone over there. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started before I lose my mind a little bit. So this is from Reuters. Trump begins mass layoffs at the FDA, CDC, and other U.S. health agencies. Summary: FDA's tobacco chief fired. New drug regulator quits. Don't care. Some employees turned away at building doors, sources say. Also don't care. Former Commissioner Califf says FDA as we know it is finished. Cool. And CDC cuts included at least one employee working on the measles. Okay, we didn't we cure measles like 30 years ago? Whatever, who cares? All right, let's get into this because I am super excited that we are um, continuing to do these cuts. I'm a big fan of what Trump is doing. I think that the bloat in the federal government is absolutely beyond belief, and it needs to be done. It needs to be done. Well, and the thing is it's not like it hasn't been attempted before. I believe Clinton, I think I said this in a previous episode. I think Clinton came in and fired like 9,000 people. I think Obama came in and fired a bunch of people. So firing people isn't like off the, reservation. In these quantities though, yeah, probably it is a little bit wild, for sure. But you and I, you watching and I know, and I'm sure you've probably experienced something similar. In the federal government and state government, you have a lot of employees that don't particularly care about their jobs. There's a lot of them that do. I'm not going to, denigrate the ones that do work hard, and the ones that do enjoy their job and wish to move forward throughout the government as your career ladder. No problem with you guys, but there is a lot of people. Go to your local DMV. I'll just stop there. Go to your DMV and see how many people treat you nicely and if those people should have jobs. So if it happens there, it happens everywhere. So I think what the situation is right now with RFK is they want to go from like 82,000 to 62,000. So it's quite a big, chunk of people. But how many? And the media makes a big deal in saying, oh, it's people, approving drugs. Oh, it's people doing scientific research. Yeah, maybe there's a few in there, one that they mentioned in this article, one, and they don't specify what he was working on with measles. Could have been just a pencil pusher, looking through documents. And I doubt, I really doubt a lot of these people that are being laid off are like important researchers unless they resign. But yet the media could take that and say, like they did here with the what was that? The new drugs regulator quits. They're going to do it out of spite, because they don't like the Trump agenda. They don't like Trump. They might believe the radicalness from CNBC and think that he's literally Hitler or whatever. But they're going to leave. You're going to get some good ones. But the point is that majority of these people that are being let go are just administrative. The average workload for a federal government employee, according to Glassdoor and such, is well, okay. So let me back up a little bit here. So for the administrative employee, about 35 to 40 hours a week is, of course, the standard. But you have a lot of other people that work 50, and especially at the FDA, or excuse me, at the CDC, if we have the, pandemic going on, which we have had, they might be working 50, 60 hours a week, which good for them, and those folks should keep a job. But realistically, The 35 to 40 hour a week benchmark for administrative people, that's the cap. That's like the limit, 40 hours a week. Which, if you work at a private institution, how many of you work 50 hours a week on a regular basis? No, the administrative people, and the thing is before COVID, they would boast about it online. I think I even copied. Let's see, this is from Reddit. Somebody on Reddit. Now, of course, that can't be verified, but the fact that you see it on there and they talk about it in a boasting manner. He said, "quote 35 hours if I stretch it, Nap City." Um, and so they're all pushy gigs, right? Pointless paperwork, just pencil pushing. And do we really need those? Like, I mean, maybe 20,000 people isn't, is a little bit more than necessary. But here's what I tell people when they argue with me about this, because the number one rebuttal to firing all these people is, well, how are we going to move efficiently? Okay, well, we obviously, if we cut down and we need to hire more people, we hire more people, but at least we cut it back and see where we're at. And then their retort is, well, you're taking away people's jobs, you're taking away people's livelihoods. Yeah, yeah. You ever been involved in an economic downturn? Person that I'm speaking to? You ever gone through a recession? Did you live in 2008 when the market crashed? Yeah, people got laid off and fired from the private industry across the nation, and times were hard, times were difficult, very difficult. But if the economy could stay afloat, which I'll get into a little bit later, then removing people from the federal government, if they're good, they'll get their job back. Or if they're good, they might just want to go to private industry. And hopefully, there's some incentives that companies are offering where they're like, hey, if you really did well at your job, we'd love to have you here. Because the experience from that may carry over, whatever, whatever. Just do a little bit of research and it might work out for you. But the point is to get rid of the bad. And the bad, yeah, unfortunately, when they're gone, they might have to work at McDonald's. They might have to work at the movie theater if the movie theater is even um, in your town anymore. But that's what happens. And then it's sad, and I'm sorry, and I know they have their families to take care of and all that stuff. And y good people are going to be affected. I will reiterate that good people are going to be affected, and I'm hoping that the method or that the plan as of right now is to do what I suggested, where we fire in on mass, and then if you want your job back, they open interviews right after let's say a month. You fire them, they have to wait a month, guaranteed. And then they can come back and reapply for their job. And then the management has a sit down, reviews everything that they had done, reviews their qualifications, reviews their experience, all that good stuff, and then determine whether or not they deserve to have their job back. And again, it seems kind of blunt, but we've been this long in our country with tens of millions of federal employees, right? I might be that high. It might not quite be that high. Maybe it's like 5 million. Doesn't matter. Point is, there's way too many, right? So we break it down, we go from there. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next story here. So this is an interesting perspective from Pamela Bondi. And ABC News Attorney General Pam Bondi directs prosecutors to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangioni. She's directing federal prosecutors to seek death penalty, blah blah blah. If he's convicted, this of the December murder of CEO Brian Thompson. You guys know this story, I'm sure. Um, let's see. One of the federal charges against Mangione, murder through use of firearm, makes him eligible for the death penalty if convicted. Let me read this quote. Quote, Mangione's murder of Brian Thompson, an innocent man and father of two young children, was premeditated, cold-blooded assassination and that shocked America. Quote, end quote. Bondi said in a statement. After careful consideration, I've directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty before. Okay. I'm not going to reiterate what I say. I do that a lot anyways, so let's not read things twice. Okay, so I don't think this is wise. And you may be surprised by that. I don't really like the death penalty, to be honest with you, mainly because I do not trust the state. I don't, there have been one is too many, but there have absolutely been too many convictions of people that were wrongfully convicted, and they get on death row for something they didn't do, and God forbid they either get followed through with and die, or they don't and they're stuck at death row for 20, 30 years, with, of course, no chance of parole. And as it turns out, they're innocent, right? So the fact that that even happens more than once is enough for me to say I'd prefer to not have the death penalty. But I think where it comes in, um, I think where the conservative argument that I have comes into play is, of course, when you are witnessing a crime. If you, let's say you're on the street, you carry your nine, whatever, um, and you're seeing an old lady get robbed, mugged. Now, obviously, pull your gun out and tell them to stop. Like, hey, you're committing a crime. Stop. Right. But let's say it escalates that and she's beating up on a woman, whatever. You know what I mean. In self-defense of others, that is okay. I'm okay with that. You have a guy coming into the mall that's about to shoot the place up, pulls a gun out. Yeah, take him out. Absolutely, absolutely. You got witnesses around you. You've got people that are in immediate harm, and an immediate threat. Remove the threat. Sure. But I just don't trust the state. And I think that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Also, with Mangione, I don't know about you, and I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist for this, but I don't think he really did it. And let me tell you why. So I should have gotten the photo here. Maybe I can find it while I'm talking. But there was the original photo that was released for Mangione, um, was did not look like him at all. Um, And I mean, he had like a different nose. Uh, he had a different nose. The jacket was different. He just seemed like a completely different guy. Now, I could be wrong. Here, let me pull this up real quick. So, okay, so you got this image right here. Now, I know you guys can barely see it, but okay, so that actually that kind of looks like him a little bit. But I mean, it's hard to tell. So he was found in a different jacket. Um, yeah, him. He's got a different his smile. I mean, maybe it's the angle, but I don't think, yeah, this is the one. This is what I was talking about. So look at the chin right there. Look at the chin. That's a much pointier chin. If this is the guy that they were supposed to be looking for, and let's say that's Mangione, I don't see, like, there's too many differences. Like, he has a straight what do you bridge of the nose, and he's obviously his nose was broken or something. I just don't think this is the same guy. Now, it could be that this guy in the darker green was misidentified. Like, they thought for some reason it was him. The jacket looks to be a different color, but it's also a crappier camera. So, I mean, it's hard to tell unless good old Mangione was a patsy, right? Which, don't be surprised if that somehow comes out being the case, because I firmly believe that the JFK and the MLK murders, I believe the CIA and the FBI were involved, respectively. CIA with JFK and FBI with MLK. And you may say, well, Ted, they came out with the documents and there's nothing in there that shows that they're okay. Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. There's some connections to people that claim that it wasn't that, whatever, whatever, whatever. I'm more inclined to believe that there was a single shooter. Now, of course, you could argue with me about the autopsy results and, where the entry points are and all that stuff. So let's put all that aside and just say, okay, it was Oswald. Why Oswald? That's the question. Why some random guy who had some connections to Russia? Why? And then you may say, okay, well, let's say he was a Russian asset. Why exactly would Russia want to go through with something like that? Because at the time you had the Cuba situation, you had a lot of generals in the United States that were pushing for war. I believe there was something with Panama, if I'm not mistaken, wanting to get the Panama Canal back, and there was an issue with somebody that I should have got the facts together before I talked about this. But the point is, let's say he was connected with Russia, right? Why follow through with something like that where you're taking out the president of the United States with without with like being a veteran, right? I mean, yeah, I just don't. It's hard to believe that people would be so radicalized that they would go after if they are a military member and an American citizen, how they would be so radicalized to literally kill a president of the United States. That bothers me. But two, let's bounce back and talk about like the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping. Right? Okay, so if you forget what this is, basically there were a bunch of guys that made a plan to capture the governor of Gretchen Whitmer of where was she from? Was it Michigan? I think it was Michigan. I don't know. Fact check me. But they had a plan, and the FBI was involved, and they arrested him and whatever. Come to find out, like 10 or something of the guys involved in that were either agents, FBI agents, or FBI informants. And there was like two or three guys that were actually just not affiliated whatsoever, and they all went down. Which is just that's just bananas to me. And what I think people miss is it's not so much that the FBI is directly involved, it's the fact they do this where they coerce and they convince and they put pressure and they basically be a part of a plan in order to get one of the people involved in the plan so that somebody goes down. So that's the Gretchen Whitmer thing. So if that, and mind you, our political people in this country or FBI agents, I'm not gonna slam all of them, but there's a lot of leadership that are absolutely retarded. From politicians to the FBI, which thank God we're getting rid of it, or getting rid of the management, from them to every other agency is full of idiots. So it's not unrealistic to think that back then they had successful means of convincing or coercing or getting, even being a part of getting Oswald in with the Russians so that they could remove their obstacle that was JFK. So again, that's a long-winded way of saying it is highly possible, in my opinion, that Mangioni is actually a plant. And if that is the case, do we really want the death penalty brought upon a man who is a patsy of the United States government? It's the government killing its own informant, right? Do we really want that? Do we want to take a chance at that? And maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Maybe you believe. I mean, the guy Thompson, he was an innocent man. I get it, family man. I understand. It wasn't right what he did by any stretch of the imagination. And anybody on the left that tells you like that celebrates this man as a hero is mentally handicapped. They are more than likely a sociopath because you are talking about somebody's life. Now you may say, okay, well, what about the healthcare industry? They kill people all the time through denying claims. Yes, I know we can do reform of that. We can find a way to get together and do reform, but what doesn't fix it is revolutionary style tactics like killing the CEO of a company that literally has nothing to do with their like he came on board and was basically directed to save money. So they denied a lot of claims, which isn't the right thing to do. But never mind. I digress. The point is, you shouldn't kill people. That's not the solution to problems, right? You shouldn't do it. Um, when you have a grievance, I should say, when you have a grievance, it's not the solution to kill people. If somebody's trying to kill you, I mean, that's a whole nother thing, self-defense, all that good stuff. All right, I'm rambling, guys, so let me move on here. So, whoa. From CNBC, Trump's tariffs gambit will raise the stakes for an economy already looking fragile. Donald Trump is set Wednesday to begin the biggest gamble of his nascent term. I don't, nascent second term, excuse me, wagering that broad-based tariffs on imports will jumpstart the era for the U.S. economy. No one outside the administration knows quite how these goals will be achieved. That's fair. And theoretically, it could be inflationary. And the economy is showing signs of a stagflationary impulse where growth is slowing and inflation is proving stickier than expected. Okay. All right. So actually, that's a fair summary, fair key point summary from CNBC, which is funny because I like the point that they actually said on their surface tariffs or tax on imports and theoretically are inflationary. Excuse me. I like that better than the average Democrat leftist response of it's a tax, it's a tax, it's a tax. It's not a tax. right? And I've even heard conservatives say that it's a tax. No, it has the same effects as a tax. And believe me, I'm no economist, but you shouldn't look at it that way, right? And you say, oh, it's a tax on the consumer. Okay, but the government is receiving money from other countries and we pay higher prices. But isn't that the problem of the countries? Don't they need to do something different in order to have? That's the difference when you have taxes levied upon companies and individuals. You have the government taking your money for itself because it's overly bloated. While tariffs, on the other hand, is saying, you country over there, you've abused us for years, so you're going to pay us more money, at least reciprocal tariffs. But you're going to pay us money so we can do better, so we can do better for our people. And if it's applied properly, then it's a benefit to us. So what he's getting at is he was talking the other day about the I believe raising across the board tariffs. I think it was like maybe 20, was it 25 or 20%, something like that, across the board, across all goods, because right now it's just targeted to certain industries, auto manufacturing, that type of thing. And he was talking about spreading it across to across the board. And now my situation with this is I agree with the idea of tariffs for sure. But broad use is definitely a new strategy in the United States. So doing this on an entirety of the economy basis is a fairly new strategy. Tariffs have of course been done before. He's a big advocate of William McKinley, one of our great presidents. And tariffs were done in the, I believe, 1800s, but into the 1900s. So we've done it before effectively, but broad tariffs across the entirety of the industry, I don't think that have been done. So it is a gamble for sure, but the payoff is fantastic. And one of the good things I stand behind is let's even give Trump the let's say the economy does struggle, right? Let's say inflation does continue to rise. I don't think it's going to rise tremendously, but it might rise a little bit. Okay, so you put that aside. Let's say the industry, Wall Street investors, let's say they get so scared that they just hoard their money. They hoard it, they don't start new investments, they don't do whatever, even though they know that Trump is one of the most economically friendly presidents we've ever had. And 2019 was one of the best economic years we'd had in decades, right? So they know that already, but I guess they're worried about, well, they're worried about their profits. I mean, I get it. If you're losing money on the imports across the board, because the countries raised their prices because of our tariffs, yeah, I'd be worried too. But they really should hold faith that this is a bargaining tactic, is what this is. Not only is it fair that the other countries at least meet us at reciprocal tariffs, but this is it's a tactic. He plays 4D chess. This is what he does. He goes after. The best example of things he does is this whole thing about Trump term 3. And I've heard arguments on two sides. The one argument is that he really wants to do that. He wants to be a dictator, blah 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 blah. The other side says, well, this is a way to kick the other stories like the immigration story that we had, to kick it out of the news cycle, which is valid. I mean, I can understand that perspective as well. I think this is him protecting his own rear end. And I'll tell you why. So Trump was known as a madman. Trump was known as a wild card. He was known. He was even the whole thing about Putin, where the idea is Putin didn't think that Trump would bomb Moscow, but there was at least a 5 to 10% chance that he might, and that's enough to deter anybody, right? So if he's a wild a cannon, right? That's the fuse is lit, you don't know what he's going to do. So I believe that the whole pitch and what he said is actually, it was very, very, very intelligent the way he said it. He wasn't talking directly about the third term, but he was talking about other people talking about it and then made a comment saying he loves to work. So the media could imply that he was saying he would want a term three, but that's not actually what he said. So, but it shows the world that, like, hey, I'm not a lame duck president. Yeah, I'm in my first year. Yeah, you're going to do what I want, but come 2026, 2027, there's not going to be a let up. You don't get to let up. We're not going to let up on the gas, and you don't get to back away and snicker and think, oh well, this will be over come the next president. No, could be another four. So you better step up to the plate, Canada. You better step up to the plate, Mexico. China, you better back the f off because we might have 8 more years of Donald Trump. So I think this is a power play, and that's what Trump really does with a lot of things, and I think that's what the tariffs are. It's a power play. Just hang in there, everybody. If Wall Street gives any fucks about me, which they don't, but let's just say somebody was listening that's involved in the financial sector. Just hang in there, man. I don't know. I know very little about economics, but I understand the tactics he's taking. He's taking a very solid business tactic. Some people refer to it as, a pitch high and meet in the middle. I think it's just strong arming. I do. I think it's strong arming. And I think that I truly believe that if something really doesn't go well, if his poll numbers do start to crater, I think he'll change course. I think he's one of the only presidents we've ever had that will truly and honestly change course if the American people dictate it. And I only say that because there's proof. He did everything he could do, considering the government was against him in his first term. But this term, he's got everybody he needs, and he's doing what he campaigned on. Like literally doing what he campaigned on. And you don't get that at a president. So hang in there, keep it going. I think we'll get through this. All right, let's move on to our last story here. This one's interesting, a bit more cultural. This is from the BBC. Assassin's Creed maker, excuse me, gets $1.25 billion in Chinese investments. Chinese technology giant Tencent has made a $1.2 billion investment in a spin off from Ubisoft, the maker of Assassin's Creed video games. Shenzhen based Tencent will own about a quarter of the new business, with Ubisoft holding the rest of a new subsidiary, which is valued at around £4 billion. The unit will run some of the French firm's biggest franchises, including Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and Rainbow Six. Tencent, which is one of the world's biggest video game developers, is also known for the internet-based services, including the hugely popular messaging app WeChat. Okay, so I bring this up because I cannot stand China. I cannot stand China. And because the CCP is gloating, and they have been gloating under the radar about getting one over on the United States. And it's been bad. And no one seems to be paying attention to what they're doing. I've had arguments with people literally, oh, China's a good thing. China's a good thing. It's helping our economy, it's helping their economy. They're gonna grow, they're gonna be great. No, no. They're feigning capitalistic society when in reality they're a communist dictatorship. Or maybe you could say a communist uh autocracy, something like that. Yeah, when there's multiple people, is that right? Autocracy. Either way, but it's communist at heart. So either way, they want to be a world power. That is truly what they want. They don't like the United States. They're in business with us. It's like two companies that wildly hate each other, but they work together in order to make a profit. That's what it is. We're not friends with them. They are our enemy. They want the destruction of the United States, almost as bad as Russia does, almost as bad as Iran does. They're not safe. And this is just another cog in the wheel for them to keep generating forward this overtaking the United States. Now you may say, Ted, this is in France. The Ubisoft is located in France. Okay, okay, sure. But Ubisoft is a worldwide company, and they have IP that the world knows about. Right? Assassin's Creed is one of the most popular video game franchises on the planet. So, yeah, if they get a hold of IP like that, I mean, really, you're talking, a mini form of Disney acquiring Marvel. And the last thing we need is China's grubby hands involved with more of our cultural and social elements of the United States. right? Because people love the game. People love video gaming, right? They love video gaming, and it's the really the mark, the hallmark of our of the millennials and Generation Z that finds that took video games from a niche market to mainstream. So much so that even here on Rumble, I mean, people are coming over here in droves. Dr. Disrespect, you have a lot of other individuals that I'm familiar with. I don't know them personally, but I'm familiar with that are building a whole following here on Rumble, and it's very popular on Twitch and all that stuff. So it's a huge industry. The more we have China involved with American culture, the worse it's going to be for America. We have a hard enough time keeping ourselves in line with our own American ideals. Like, as a country, I don't care if you're left, right, center, I don't care, right? We are all American at the end of the day. And there are people that literally, truly hate everything we are as a nation. And unfortunately, not only are they louder than most, but they're being listened to by a lot of people. You have the entirety of the Democrat Party going along with some of these ideas, the transgenderism, the radical critical race theory, those types of things that are known Marxist ideas stimulated by whomever. I could go into a deep dive about that and Yuri Bezmenov, but I'll avoid that. But the last thing we need is that being our mainstream, right? So China would love to see that. They've already got their tentacles in Canada. They've already got their tentacles in Africa. They got Mexico. They're everywhere. Their Belt and Road Initiative, I will scream it to the high heavens, is literally a financial hostile takeover of the autonomy of countries. They want to use their money that they made from us to then invest and thereby control other countries around the world. Plus, you may know this, but any business that operates in the in China has to have a division or at least some form of leadership that has CCP members on it in order to do business there. And any business coming out of China, like Tencent, is you could basically just, instead of LLC at the end, just write CCP at the end, because that's what it is. That's what they are. Um, forward the line CCP, right? No, that's so stupid. But no, yeah, China's in control of everything, man. They're in control. So the last thing we need is our culture being influenced by them. TikTok has been a disaster area. And unfortunately, they were very smart. They made a highly addictive, very profitable, and very open and inviting platform for Americans to just crush each other on. And when I say crush each other, I mean socially, mentally, emotionally, just crush each other with nonsense all day. I mean, there were tactics done by media companies that specifically ran on TikTok. News consumption was huge on TikTok, and they're getting all types of nonsense on there. So it's unrealistic to think that China wants anything less than the destruction of America. That's what they want to be the world hegemon. They want to take our place. Now, right now, you may look at it and go, well, we have a much stronger military than we do. Okay, I've heard arguments about that might change in the next 10, 20 years if we don't speed up. We got Trump in there, so hopefully, I don't like what I'm about to say, but hopefully the spending is rightfully attributed to peace through strength, not so much bombing other nations, but peace through strength, build up the military, but try to do it with, and this might just be me bullshitting, but try and do it without overstimulating the military industrial complex. That's a whole nother conversation I really don't think I should get into now that I'm running about 35 minutes here. Um, I'll just say this. We need to audit the Pentagon 100%. 100%. There is so much money wasted in that organization. There is so much money wasted in the military. And what we are doing currently in the three-letter agencies and the departments within the government needs to be done at the Pentagon, 100%. And if Trump doesn't do it, I would actually be shocked. But I would say that his tactic of going after everything else first is so that they can reorganize and, excuse me, build up the military first, and then go in with a tooth comb, and chop out all the nonsense. So I don't know if I like the tactic or not, but I digress. Point is that China may have the ability to build up their military. We need to continue to build ours. They're going to try and take us over on culture, which they're doing with this Ubisoft thing, which I don't want China involved in any of my games because we're already giving away the whole gaming atmosphere to the radical left. I mean, what was it? Dragon Age, the new Dragon Age. I think even the new Baldur's Gate. And there was another one too. I think it was by Bio. Was it the BioWare one? Oh, I forgot what it was. You guys might know. Comment below if you know what I'm talking about. But it was a very recent RPG that had like transgender messaging in it, had LGBTQ messaging in it, which it would be fine if the market actually dictated that, but the market's not dictating that. If it was, you would see and over feminism too. So LGBTQ and overly feminist, like fourth wave feminism, where it's just in your face and they won't shut up about it, and like they have equal rights, but they still want to bitch about stuff. I don't know. Um, and the wage gap thing. Remember that? Remember that? How that died out because they were lying. Remember that? Remember, like, had to do with way more than just the fixed dollar amount, like how much women worked versus men, what kind of jobs women took versus men. There were a lot of variables there that they didn't want to talk about. And I don't want to go too far on that tangent. I do believe women should have, the ability to do what they want, but the lies and the radical feminism I think even upsets a lot of women, and especially with this LGBTQ. I personally think the most feminist part of me is that this LGBTQ thing and transgender athletes is spitting in the face of women, which is incredibly disrespectful because the dudes dressing up like women and like taking over their sports, it's despicable. Those men should be thrown in a fucking loony bin, dude. Like that's a whole nother conversation. I'm probably gonna get, you know, reprimanded for saying that, but um, some of them are good people. I'm just trying to be nice at this point. That's a whole nother conversation. So it's already crazy in the video game industry. It's rampant. So the last thing we need is China to push that along further because that's what they did with TikTok, and they'll do that with the video game industry. So, anyways, I'll leave it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Again, check us out over on X at Forward the Line. Please like and follow and share this video if you would. And our website, forwardtheline.co, where we've got shirts, goodies, and other stuff coming down the pike. Also, we have a free shirt giveaway that's going to be launching soon when we hit 100 followers at every, I believe it's at every, don't quote me, but I believe it's every 100 follower increments. We basically pick random. We haven't decided on the actual amount, but I think it's between 1 and 5 people. Every time we hit 100 followers, and then um, and then ship it to your door for free, right? So that's coming out soon. Just keep your eye out for that. Follow us on X. Follow us here on Rumble. Like I said, this will be going up on YouTube, I believe. And thank you guys so much. I'm rambling. Appreciate you. And remember, I forgot what it was.